congrats on finishing a season of television during these crazy times.
Thank you.
I would not want to be you, so I'm glad you guys all survived. And so like how's it been surviving? Like what's the biggest lessons you've learned from doing a show with these circumstances?
Good question. I'd say the biggest thing I've learned in making a show during a pandemic is something I always practice and try to preach to my staff and the cast and crew, and that is literally, we are the Flash. We are the Flash family. We have to stick together. It is the only way we can get through big events like we went through in 2020 and continue to go through in 2021. We have to stick together. So I try to preach that all the time and to let everybody know that we're all in this together, and it sinks into the scripts. It's something that I actually take very seriously, that I believe. And that's how we got through it. We got through it together. Every single person from craft services, grips, art department, second ADs, cast, directors, writers, producers, studio network, everybody on all sides of the food chain. What a global pandemic does is it evens the playing field. And it says we're all just human beings trying to make, the best television we can. And we all better get arm in arm together. That's how we're going to make it through this. And that's what we did. And I'm really proud of everybody's work this year under absolutely impossible circumstances. That's what I learned.
That's awesome. I love how you said it seeps into the script, because you really do feel that Team Flash family vibe going throughout every episode. And speaking of the Flash family, everyone and their mother knows that my favorite member and matriarch is Iris West Allen. So I think early on in the season, she said, or she realized she wanted to do more with her platform than what she was currently doing with Central City Citizen. And of course, as the season has progressed, we have lost a member tragically to love off screen, and we haven't had as much time to develop, what might become the social media or just media empire of the Citizen. So could you give us a peek behind the curtain of discussions about the Citizen and Iris's role from a journalist perspective?
Without giving you any spoilers.
No, without the spoilers, but just what have you guys decided? What is she doing right now behind the scenes, or what was the reason? Is it that you're going to leave it for the future, or is it that there was a reason there could not happen this season, etc.?
It's so funny because I just finished writing 801. That's literally what I literally just hit print yesterday, right?
Sirens.
You're gonna like it. I think you're gonna be very happy. You know what I mean? Because we couldn't get to the very thing you're talking about, the platform, because of the shortened season last year. And so I was talking to the staff, as I do. I said, guys, the thing that we were going to do right around 7:07, 7:08 that we didn't get to do, let's do it now in 8:01. So you literally see it. You know what I mean? I don't mean that's not a spoiler because I'm not telling you what it is.
Right.
But the thing that was going to happen is now going to.
Okay. I am excited for a thing to happen.
Because Iris's big thing is she's the voice of the people, right? It's called Central Cities. It's called, what is it called? The Citizen. That's what it's called.
Right.
I'm getting the future mixed up when we were. Was that 518, right? We're going to be Godspeed, and there was an evil Iris with the gray hair, mad at her daughter.
Evil Iris, yes. Hard knock mom Iris.
Yeah, she wasn't a very great mom in that particular timeline, right? So we're kind of like, no, we got to correct that. We gotta. She's going to be a good mom. We need to see that, you know what I mean? So, which was one of our impetus for obviously having Impulse and Excess in the 150th. It's like, no, we want to see good parenting here going on. When Godspeed clones are telling you you're the adversary and you want to go into the line of fire, a good parent will say, no, we're going to hold you back. That's what parenting is. So not a little bit done on purpose, but not to get off the topic of your question, is you'll see this one particular thing. Literally, it's Iris's first scene in 801. Is it? I just wrote this yesterday. Hold on. Yes, Yes, it's a first scene. We come in on it. It's really cool. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy about it. But she's been building towards this future that we know is coming. She's in the future, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. Well, we need to work on that, you know?
Right.
A ticket here. So that was one of the big mandates of taking all these things from season 7 we didn't get to and plopping them now, and especially the first half of season 8. So hope that answered without spoiling.
Yes, it does. I'm very excited, and I'm glad. I was just glad to know, because it definitely felt like she's like, I'm gonna do something, and the next episode I was like, but now we know it was an ellipses and not just.
I know. I feel like we're all going to go around the horn and like ask about our favorite characters before like we get to broader questions. Right. I am the Caitlin fan on this podcast, as everyone probably is well aware. Well, and Frost too, but now they're 2 people. So yes. I feel like I would love to get your thoughts on the decision to finally split them into 2 people. Like, I feel like the show really resisted that move for a long time, and now it's finally happened, and it feels like absolutely the right choice to me. So what made season 7 finally the time to do that?
Well, it's funny. A lot of the staff that's with me now, I have the world's best writing staff. If you're watching, you guys are just the best. Love you to death. And I mean that most sincerely. They're just amazing. It's the most talented group of people I've ever worked with. But it was interesting when we arrived in season 4, a lot of us, that was our first season. And one of the first things that we thought of, it wasn't me, it was multiple people. It's like, hey now, so Caitlin's got this other person, but well, how's that work exactly? Shouldn't they be 2 people? And, you know, it just takes a few years before we can actually put all the things in motion, because we had to resolve a few things in with Amunet. All that had to be resolved first. So that we set it up at the end of 5, going into 6, knowing, in fact, okay, this isn't a spoiler, but this is the truth. We were actually this close to splitting Frost and Caitlin at the end of season 5, not season 6, because we had an outgoing regime with Todd, and I was the incoming one. And I think I told him at that point, so he was like, "That's good, do that." You know, it was a very, very mellow, right? But we never quite get to it, but because again, Reverse Flash was creating shenanigans with excess and stuff like that.
As he does.
As he does. So scenes will drop out of finales quite often. It's very common. And so you end up pushing that finale moment. Plus, then I kind of realized, you know what? Let's not move too fast. Let's have 601 Into the Void be really fun, so that everybody just sees the fun of Team Flash in this kind of hopefully different style that happened when I took over. I think it's rather obvious. I like comic books probably a wee bit too much sometimes. You know, I know.
No such thing called too much loving comic books.
Yeah. And so we just gave it those 3 episodes to kind of lull the audience into, I guess she's just gonna have a normal season, but we kind of knew by the end of season 5 that was going to happen. And the question was, how long do we keep them apart? Is it permanent? We don't know yet. So we're trying to explore it as much as we can, and it's borne just incredible fruit. And again, to Tatiana's question about Iris, same thing with Frost and Caitlin. There was a huge thing we did not get to in season 7 because of the shortened season, right? And the COVID protocols and all this stuff, and it broke my heart.
Stupid pandemic,
right?
But good news.
Extremely good news.
Yes, not only are we doing it now, but because it's a year later, I've actually had a chance to rethink even the way into it. It's weirder and better and actually funnier now. So look for some very interesting, funny things going on with Caitlin and Frost this season. I can't wait to get into it. No spoilers.
I feel like Tatiana and Lacy's questions really got you to spill some tea about what we could have seen in season 7. But my first question is going to take a slightly different turn. So I thought it was really interesting, Bart's relationship with Jay. That's not something I would have expected. Jay's kind of had a presence in Barry's life, but it's a seemingly a much deeper connection with Bart. And I was just wondering what that kind of idea came about. Was it just wanting to get John Wesley Shipp back on the show in a way, or was there another reason why you kind of set up that relationship?
That's a great question. Right on. I like that.
Thank you.
There's actually a really kind of personal answer to that. And it goes all the way back to blood work in season 6. I've said this publicly many times that my mother died in season 4 of making this show. It took me, I don't even know if I'm over it yet.
No, sorry.
Blood work story.
Sorry,
I know it's unfortunately, if the way nature works properly, a parent should pass on before their child. That's what we knock on, whatever hope happens. And it happened to me, and so in working that out, that was the blood work story. It's no coincidence that blood work is fighting against death and is trying to get his mother back and all this stuff. And he's fighting against the inevitable thing that we all experience in life, if life works the way it should. Now, same thing. This does connect to your question. I am paying attention. It's the same thing with Jay. Really, the Jay relationship with Impulse is me digging into my father's side of my life, where and don't get me wrong, I love my dad. We get along fine. I don't mean it in the drama way, but it's very interesting how I have a relationship sometime with my father who is a non-artist, and I'm an artist. And it just doesn't get it sometimes. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Conversely, one of my cousins, who is not an artist like my dad, they get on like a house on fire and bond in ways that I could never bond with my own dad, because I'm not a non-artisty person. I'm dripping it. I'm dripping it constantly. I can't turn this brain off. So I felt that was a really interesting relationship to put onto Jay, Bart, and Barry, because Barry's still Impulse's dad, right? Still the same thing.
Right.
And they love each other, and they still get along, and he gives him father-son's talk, and he tucks him in at night when he's 2, right, and reads him Harry Potter, like a good dad should, right? However, there's something about the relationship that Bart has with Jay that I hopefully will get to explore. Again, no spoilers. And we're still going to season 8. You know what I mean? We love John Wesley Shipp. I hope we can get him back, and we'll have to wait and see. But that's what we wanted to hint at, that everybody can have different relationships with the mentor figures and grown-up figures and parents in their life. And sometimes it's not your parent who has the biggest influence on you. Sometimes it's an uncle, an aunt, or just a family friend, or the neighbor who's like, you're 14 and they're 17. So you're a freshman and they're a senior, and you want to talk about stuff, but you don't want to talk to your dad or mom about it. You might talk to that older non-sibling, that older person who has experiences that you can relate to a little bit more, and you'll have a different dialogue with them. I think that's very important to show those new kinds of relationships. That's the relationship between Bart and Jay, and that's what we're going for. And I hope we get to dig into it more, fingers crossed. But that's where it all came from. It came from, one side was my mom in season 6. End of season 7 is digging into my dad baggage territory in the good way.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Well, now I understand that when we spoke at Comic-Con, all those years ago when we still could go outside and everything, I remember you said that.
I thought it was WonderCon.
No, it was Comic-Con 2019, and you said in the press room that the first 8 episodes were very, very personal to you.
Right.
Right. Sometimes my memory works, and today was one of those days. So now I understand, because I'm like, wait a minute, he spoke about this 2 years ago. I remember this. So, one thing I wanted to talk about from the finale is one of the things that has always been important to me about the show is Barry growing, because it's from his point of view we see everything, and I feel that moment between Grant and Tom's big showdown of the whole, I got faster, didn't you? And the shade, oh my god, I screamed. But I just wanted to ask, was, even though we had Godspeed, we have this other almost faster speedster villain than Barry, was it always something you went in when you wrote the script for the finale? Was it always intentional that the moment Barry gets to be faster than anyone, that it was always going to be Eobard as opposed to August or Zoom or anyone else that we've seen in the past?
Yes, you win the prize. You are absolutely 100%. Sorry, that's my phone. Let me turn that off. I apologize. So rude. Yes, you're absolutely 100% right. It was very important to me. And I'll tell you where it came from, because I'm that dude, right? So remember back in, I guess it was end of season 5, right? And Reverse Flash had this master plan. He manipulated Nora and all this stuff. And Nora dies. He gets away and all that. I got really mad as a viewer because I'm writing as a viewer. I'm like, I don't like you, Mr. That's just not cool, And I thought to myself, I am so tired of him being smarter and faster all the time. I'm done with that. And I'm going to look for the moment when we can have Barry not just turn the tables. What I loved was he throws a punch, and Barry's so fast, he's just standing there like, can I get a margarita? What should I do? You know what I mean? Okay, this is how fast I am. I'm going to have breakfast. Okay? Then I'm going to kick you up. It was really on purpose. And then he throws him, and Reverse Flash has that freak out moment. And I always knew a year in advance what that final line was. I'm like, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And he's going to say, I got faster, didn't you? And then you find a way to write towards it, because you got to find it organically. We come up with a lot of great, crazy ideas. I know I do, and my staff does too. So far in advance, sometimes we don't know when we can use it. So we just put it on the board and put it under it's literally something that says cool stuff to do. And he's just like, okay, put that under cool stuff to do. And it just sits there. And then we're breaking a story, and somebody goes, Eric, number 7 on the cool things to do. And I go, mic drop, my friend. And then we put it into the script. It's hilarious. We have a lot of fun when we're writing these things. It's a lot of laughter, a lot of joking, when we get serious and when we open up and tell your personal stories and all that stuff. But there's a lot of trust in that writer's room, which I'm, again, very, very happy about.
Speaking of coming up with things in advance, first off, I did love Godspeed and Karan Oberoi's performance. Just acted his butt off. He was awesome. But how early on, or at what point did you know that you were going to connect the season 5 Godspeed to now the kind of Godspeed we have here? Because I think that when we were watching season 5, we would never have thought, the man that killed Nora's best friend was going to kill Bart's mentor instead. So where was the, inspiration behind jealous of Bart, wanting organic speed, etc.? Where did that come from?
Well, the inspiration was desperation. Okay, let's be honest. I'm not gonna lie. In season 5, because Todd was in charge of the show, not me. So Todd, he had that story where he goes evil Iris in the future. It was funny, and we just say that for fun.
Right.
We don't know she's evil, and that's
no pitchforks.
We're just having fun, obviously. But I remember watching that episode, and I read the comic books, and I'm like, Godspeed is so good. We just defeated him really easily in one episode. And then I went, I don't like that. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's literally what a lot of the creative process is, well, if I was a viewer, what would I want to see? And that's where the kernel comes from. Then you break it and all that good stuff. So I knew at the as I was told, hey, you're taking over in season 6, and I'm like, what? Okay. One of the first things I thought was, we're going to do Crisis this year. It's going to reboot the entire timeline. I have a second chance to do not only several other meta villains, which you kind of saw. Pied Piper's a little different right now. By the way, can you hear all this noise outside? Can you hear that?
In the forest?
Barely.
I hear all the birds and the
the lion roaring.
It does get loud in my head. I apologize, but I recognized with Crisis there was an opportunity to do Godspeed a second time and to really honor the rich tradition that Joshua had come up with in the comics, which I love, and even expand on it. And, we put our own spin on it because we're a TV show, not obviously an actual comic book. And so that was the first part. The second part was, well, what is it? And all right, I'm going to spill. Okay, more secrets here for you because I trust you guys. You're not going to tell anybody, right?
Only the YouTube.
Only YouTube. Hi, YouTube. They're watching thinking, does this guy know he's on camera right now? Yes, I do.
We ask for consent, everyone, so don't come to my man and be like, Andy, did you mess up?
Board. We're all friends here. But we got to the top of season 6, and the scene, which is I don't know if it's the teaser. I haven't watched 106 in a while. But where Godspeed, he's running at Flash, and they have that moment, which then repeat later on for viewers who caught it later on. That was originally supposed to be a different villain. And I'm hoping to see this villain later this season, so I'm not going to tell you who it was. But it was a different villain, and unfortunately, what happened was we couldn't afford, quite frankly, the visual effects sequence. It got really unwieldy because we hadn't even gotten to the black hole yet.
Oh, no.
Okay.
And so it's one of those showrunner decisions that you make that breaks your heart. I'm like, I gotta take away the badass villain. I gotta put him somewhere else. Okay, fine. Well, what do I do now? And that's when, in the back of my mind, fine, it's Godspeed. I don't know why. So I said, all right, he's a clone. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Give me 6 months. Figure it out 6 months. And I just rolled the dice. That is the total honesty.
Wow.
Right?
I love that
Awesome.
impulse.
There you go. And so we did that, and the writing staff. Now this is another funny thing. This is early on with me taking over. So the writing staff knows me, but doesn't know me as a showrunner boss. They're like, "You sure you want to roll the dice on that? That's a big risk." God bless them. I believe in the subconscious writer. I believe that you dig in creatively, let it happen organically and naturally, and just be open to anything. You never know when an idea is going to come. You never know who it's going to come from. It might come from a staff writer, might come from a PA, it might come from the craft services table, it might come from the DP, I don't care where a good idea comes from. You just embrace it and then run with it and develop it, obviously. So I said to them, you got to trust me. It'll be okay. And they said, and Flash is going to jump in a black hole? And I remember I wrote on the board, Queen soundtrack, Flash.
Yes.
And Todd will love this because Todd and I we're still friends, obviously. He's on Superman and Lois. He was now working on other stuff, and he walks by the room that he's not allowed in anymore because it's hilarious. And he looks at the board and he goes, Flash jumps in black hole Queen. He just looks right at me and goes, whatever, I'm out. Like, in the nicest way, you know what I mean? But he's like, yeah, I would have never done that. And I said, I know. And that's just to give you an insight. All of the Arrowverse showrunners who were friends, obviously.
Right.
We're all in the same building. Half the time we're close by, or we stay in contact because we have to do crossovers together. It's another one of the joyful things about working in the Arrowverse is you feel sometimes that you're working on the Flash, but we have these brother and sister shows that I love making that call of, hey, what would in a crossover, for example, we had that great scene between Black Lightning and Barry, and was it part 3? I haven't watched it.
Part 3.
I can't remember anymore. Thank you, Andy.
I watched it too many times. Like, listen, don't make me quote the Ezra Barry Grant moment because I can't.
That's one of those things, right? But that's a perfect example of, ooh, we're gonna have Black Lightning in a scene. I've never written Black Lightning, so I write the scene. Right? No, I think it was might have been Lauren. I think Lauren did the first pass in that scene. Lauren Serto is no longer with us, but still terrific writer. And then I did a pass on it, and then I said, hey, we should call up the Black Lightning folks. We should double check this. But they're right down the hall, right? Or across the street. you can just go there and have that kind of synergy with it. And then it helps, and we learn some great stuff, and we put that right into that scene, and it elevates things. You know, that's what's so exciting. I have no idea what your question was. So
I think you had already answered that, and then like how you came up with Godspeed now being part of Bart, and you were like, I want another chance.
That's right.
I want Godspeed to be better, stronger, faster, sexier.
But I will tell you, after I rolled the dice and believed in the subconscious writer, I get what I call brain blasts. Right? For some reason, they happen when I'm not thinking about the show, when I'm doing something like walking or something innocuous, and they always happen early in the morning. I don't understand, but it's the subconscious writer at work, so I embrace it. And then I just remember waking up one day and going, I know why they're clones. It's his master plan. Yeah, and they're like, so I run into the writer's room. I know it. They're all clones. It's a civil war. It's all his plan. Well, and they're like, what are you talking about? I said, trust me, it's going to be great. Well, when are we doing this? Oh, I guess that won't be for another year. Well, what are we supposed to do until then? We'll lead into it, and we'll snap. And then suddenly that's where we got the idea for 618. We didn't know. I knew I wanted Pied Piper to come back. I love Andy. Such a great actor. It's so much fun having him on the show. But I didn't know what the story was. I'm like, why is the Pied Piper back? I have no idea. But the subconscious writer said, Andy's back because Barry needs help with a Godspeed clone, and we're going to plant that there are multiples, and that's going to lead into the eventual story of the Civil War that's going to happen a year from now. That's how it happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes,
it does.
That's what it's like in the writers. Just everything's a little crazy, but you embrace the uniqueness of an idea and find its center, and then develop it, and then hopefully it develops something even better because I have such a wonderful staff, working.
Speaking of segueing into different ideas, she said segueing into a different question. One of my things that I loved most about this season and felt like it was something you guys maybe came up with a little on the fly. I loved that that Natalie Dreyfus got to come back, and then we got to see Sue again, and that our last image of her wasn't with melty Ralph. And I know there's a whole lot of other issues as to why whatever was planned for her and her character could not come to fruition, but I would love to hear about why you decided to bring her back on her own this season, and what just about. I love her, and
she's terrific.
Seconded.
She's terrific. She's terrific. Natalie Dreyfus, wonderful human being, amazing actress, and apparently great dancer, because that's her half the time in that ballet sequence. There's a double stunts, but most of that's her. It's pretty amazing. So yeah. Funny story there. I think the first part of the story you can probably figure out. We won't go into that. But we were in a situation where, we don't have an elongated man, but we have Sue. Is this the end? And I remember calling up Natalie, and I said, look, I don't know. And I was honest with her. I said, I don't know how you're going to come back on this show, but I want you to come back. I'll find a way. I don't know what it is. I'll talk to you in 6 months. But just trust me, have faith, And she's like, okay. Cut to several months later, we're breaking the Masquerade story. So we're breaking 713. I love horror movies, as everyone knows. And if you don't know, now you do. That's my favorite thing in the world. And so I'm like, I want it to be spooky, and it's going to be a psycho pirate mask. And we're going to have all these hallucinogenic, weird imagery. And we're going to set an insane asylum, and they're going to have to steal the mask in the real world. So there's 2 Ceciles. Okay, all right. That sounds good. How do we do that? And I'm like, and I just said it as an off the cuff, not real. I went, well, it's like if Sue was here, how she could break into anything? Have Sue, break in, or someone like that. And then one of my very smart, astute writers probably went, thought here. What if it really was Sue? And I went, oh yeah, that's obvious, isn't it? And I went, gold star, you're amazing. And then the rest. But I realized it wasn't good enough to have her in one. Let's have her in a couple, and just try it out. And I felt it was just amazing. So again, I don't know, but I hope we'll see more of her in season 8. I've only written one script yet, so cut me a little slack.
I love that your ideas come like the lightning moments in television shows. When whenever a character has a plan, suddenly it all comes together. They figure out the plan, and you're like, that doesn't happen in life, but now we know it does.
It does. When I talk to the writing staff, it's the same way. I encourage them. I feel like my job is to lead with the big ideas, write a couple scripts, throughout the year. Yes, I do the polishes and all that stuff, blah, 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 whatever, But my biggest job, I think, is to inspire my staff to overachieve. And I take a lot of pride in that some of the wildest, most wonderful, or most emotional things have come from me just throwing them a kernel and them taking it and boom, and watching it blossom. It just makes me so happy to see, I just feel like that's the way I operate, because I want everybody on, the show, the cast, the crew, the writers, I want them to feel ownership of the show, to be invested in it. Boy, are there's a group of invested people in that writer's room. Woo!
Well, I have to ask this question, and I'll ask the serious questions too. But we always joke on the podcast about baby Jenna and how she's absent and how she's probably Godspeed because we don't know where she is. And twice this season, it was addressed that she did have babysitter. So that's good to know that we don't have to call Child Protective Services on Joe and Cecile. But I just wonder if that's ever a conversation in the writer's room about what to do with her long term, because it is so hard to write for young children, which Superman and Lois very smartly avoided by using Crisis to age them up. And then my more serious question would be about Joe and Cecile, because they were separated a lot this season, and kind of what was the thought process behind that of kind of really giving them very independent storylines.
All right, first question. Yes, it is a running joke in the writer's room. God,
I love it.
Parents, what is their problem? But as we all know, what the reality is, when you work with children, it's shorter hours, limited hours. You can all the precautions, and we were in a COVID pandemic.
Right.
Could not, in good conscience, bring a young child into that arena. So I erred on the side of safety. And I said, we're just going to have to mention that she's with, grandma or the babysitter, and we're just not going to be able to see her until our protocols on set are lifted. It was really a practical thing. But yes, we have noticed it is hilarious. Every time we write a scene, we're like, are the COVID protocols going to be okay by then? And it never happened, One of my favorite Jenna scenes actually is in season 6. I can't remember. I think it's 612, a girl named Sue, where Sue and Ralph are on the couches in Jitter, and they're talking, and they're connecting first, and in comes Mom Cecile with the baby in the stroller, which was specifically written that way. I'm like, we need to show people that she's a mom. Come on, like, what is going on here? And I remember mentioning to the staff, hey, we should do this about every 4 or 5 episodes just so the baby doesn't disappear. And then 619, 620 happened, and a COVID pandemic, and it's been that way ever since. So we have not been able to actually enact that, kind of thing on the board. There's so many things on the board, right? Cool things to do, things not to forget. That's under the category of things. And literally, we can write it down.
We're so glad to know Jenna isn't forgotten.
Yeah, forgotten but not forgotten.
You should probably mention her. We should see her. Things of that nature. Iris.
I hope Joe and Cecile pay bank for their babysitters. It's all I'm saying. I hope they overpay market rate.
I know. So bear with me on that. If we can get through this COVID, we're starting season 8 here soon. We're still in COVID protocols right now. So because usually the baby would be a good time to that kid's got to be 4 by now.
She's not baby Jenna anymore. She's toddler Jenna.
Toddler Jenna.
We have our script coordinator, Ariel, who's brilliant. And I'll ask her, I'm like, okay, you're in charge of the timeline. How old's the kid now? She'll go, moment. Boop, 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 boop.
This would be like Days of Our Lives when the kids like leave the room and come back at the start of summer vacation and they're driving.
Yes, I will say this as a big fan of the 4400, the original 4400 that came on, right? She will never pull a 4400 and walk into the room and be 21 or 18. Not while I'm here. That's not going to happen. Okay, so rest assured that she will have a normal life. Unless we cut to the future, that might happen. You might see what she looks like in a future episode.
I love this plan.
I mean, it's better than my morbid plan.
Eric said this is going to happen. I'm tweeting it right now.
This is an example of the subconscious writer. I literally, this is how it is in the writer's room. I just say something crazy, and then I'm like, oh, that's kind of a good idea. And then it goes on the board. Cool stuff to maybe do, right? Future episode with Jenna at 21. And you just write it up there and we'll see if we get to it. So if we get to it, you'll know where it came from. It happened right here.
I mean, it's less morbid than my idea that I've said on the air, where I said something like, "Well, how about they just strike her with a lightning bolt and she just ages up?" I don't know if CW would like allow that at 8 p.m. slot, like maybe move to 9 p.m. just to do that for that 1 week, but like.
And suddenly they get kids everywhere trying to get struck by lightning to age up.
Yeah.
Have this.
PSA, kids, don't do that.
Things not to listen to Andy about. Aging up with a lightning bolt.
Yes. But I honor the spirit with which you created that idea, Andy, and I understand.
Just on the record, do not hate babies. Not planning on having any, but just it's for a story reason. I just figured that what if a lightning bolt she can run with her, family and stuff.
Yep. Well, I mean, we have hinted at so many different things. I mean, it's right there in 614, Death of the Speed Force, where Wally literally says he saw generations upon generations of speedsters. So
right.
We're all, and by the way, that was me knowing what the 150th was a year in advance and knowing what I wanted to see and putting that line in for that reason so that we could write towards it.
Oh, I love that.
So, well, speaking of the 150th, first of all, congrats. I think I've broken CW's webs.
Wasn't there another question that you had? I didn't.
Oh, sorry.
Joe and Cecile.
Oh yeah, Joe and Cecile separate. Also, Cecile did say she wants to get married now.
Yes, put a ring on it, Joe.
Yep.
Okay, so
and put on the board.
No. Couple of things there. I wanted to give Joe a super strong. I wanted to give Joe and Cecile super strong storylines that did not involve their significant other, that did not involve romance. Not that you saw the finale. I love romance. I'm the sappiest romantic dude there is, right? Good Lord,
no, I don't believe that.
But I felt it was very important because we haven't seen a storyline where it wasn't Joe and Cecile always, and they're in love, and they're always like, who are you? Other than that,
right?
Let's put Joe through something kind of intense. Let's take away that badge and that gun. Let's see what he can do now. And then we knew we were going to turn Kramer into a meta mimic. We knew that was coming, right? So I'm like, two cops together. It's kind of a very weird cop story as a runner, and then it will connect nicely in 717 when they're driving back into town, and they literally drive into the middle of the A story. Literally. They drive into the middle of the Civil War, right? At the same time, I realized it's important to grow. This is something I believe. It's important to grow your, especially female characters, without romantic entanglements before getting to a one, right? That's what we're doing with Frost. That's why Frost and Caitlin haven't had boyfriends or anything, or girlfriends. I got an open mind. I don't care, whatever, I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just saying.
Cool stuff to do.
Yeah.
yes, cool stuff to do right there.
Right? But what's cool about that is I knew we got to expand Cecile's powers.
Right.
Now, it's confession time. There was a very specific storyline in season 7 with Joe and Cecile that happens after the Psycho Mask story that we were not able to get to yet again because of the shortened season, which drove me up. I'm like, oh, come on, you're killing me. That's okay. We'll probably get to it. We may or may not have hinted at it in the season finale. I'll leave that there. I think that's rather obvious what I'm talking about.
Right.
But it was very important for me to say, no, she's got to level up in 705. That's the first time she uses her powers in that big way to take down, the Sage Force, which was, of course, a deliberate setup for Masquerade. First time you use the chair, everything's fine. Second time you use the chair, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And I don't know if you guys watched the DC Fandom event that happened. It was very, very funny when we were being interviewed, and Danny Nicolay said, "I always asking Eric, could I be a villain?" And I'm thinking to myself, now, come on, we're talking in 2 days, okay? And I'm probably what the plot is,
Oh Lord!
It's almost like she pulled it out of my head, because
like Cecile.
Yeah, she's got those powers.
We knew that's what the story was going to be. That no, we're gonna turn you bad for 2 episodes. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that. She just had a blast. I thought she gave an Emmy-winning performance. That's my favorite Cecile episode so far.
That was a great episode.
Yeah.
And it was so well directed by Rachel Talalay, who's one of our fantastic.
Woo, Rachel,
who's been with us since, I don't know, at least since season 4, since
212. She directed 212, and I love that episode.
There you go. So yeah, that was kind of on purpose, not because we don't like them together, but the third part of their story where they were together we didn't get to. But I wanted to make sure that we got him in a new place. Ooh, who am I if I'm not a cop?
Right.
I'm still kick-ass,
I mean, he's just
still
Martin,
wearing the hat, he's got the hat going on.
Oh, we had a lot of fans gushing about the hat when we did our live show, and they were like, Joe wears that hat like nobody else.
That's Jesse's thing, man. Literally, he shows up like, I'm gonna wear this hat. We're like,
Yeah, you are.
I know. I think that's what Kate, our wardrobe person, would say. Yeah, you are. But I love that. I love that when it's a form of collaboration, when people know their characters so well that they can add that kind of visual grammar and visual iconography. I think that's really special. That's something you only get on a long-running show, because it takes a little while to develop these kinds of things. And we see it all. We see it all the time. Like when Barry is breakdancing, right?
Oh my God,
that was hilarious.
You should have seen the day that I walked into the room and I said, "Good news! I have this crazy idea." And they're like, "He's gonna do what?" And then I thought about it, and the whole room just goes, "All right, let's do it." We don't know how or why, but we're going to do it. And then we found, obviously, a way. Grant is so amazing that he got into like the specifics of it. Okay, I just read the first version of the script. Love it. However, how exactly do I get these breakdancing abilities so soon? It doesn't make sense enough to me. And he was the one who came up with the suggestion of, you need to put in a line that says, "I just watched 17 breakdancing videos in 1 second," because Eric, it won't make sense otherwise. And I went, "We're doing that." So that's an example of synergy and collaboration. And Grant, I think we would have gotten there, but it probably would have been the day before shooting, and somebody would have gone, "Oh, we need a line there." Grant got there 2 to 3 weeks before we did. It was amazing, So that's just a little example of the joy of working on a long-running show and what the actors can bring specifically to elevate and even give those little layers and things like that.
Well, you were talking about the 150th before, and again, which one of my favorite episodes of all time. I may have broken the CW website for watching it for too many times, but and I'm in love with Impulse and XS, and the actors was amazing. Also,
and we'll call the Tornado Nut Twins.
The Tornado Sibs. We could call it Tornado Sibs.
Tornado Sibs. The Tornado Sibs.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're terrific. Let's face it. Jordan and Jessica, and we talked a lot before they actually came on board with the 150th. Jordan and I had a really long, deep dive conversation about just life in general, but also we're both musicians. So we were talking about music and all that kind of stuff and geeking out. And it's like, oh, we should talk about Impulse probably. Oh, right. You know, but we talked eventually about the character and getting in deep and kind of how I saw it. And he's a big Impulse Young Justice fan. And I'm like, oh, I love Young Justice too. That's really cool. Let's take from that. And you got to say this. And I talked about some of the scenes because I was starting to write it at that point. And I kind of had the audition scenes that ended up not needing, apparently, because he's just so perfect, you know? And we ended up, oh, there's a little spoiler for you. Not a spoiler, but a little secret. The opening teaser of the 150th is the audition scenes.
Oh my God.
Wow.
The very first thing I wrote in Impulse's voice. Because I wanted to write a brother-sister scene of bickering and fun, and I was obsessed with Godspeed, knowing what was going to happen. But I'm like, let's put this in the future. Let's have some fun. Let's do some kooky stuff. Let's see them overlapping their dialogue like a Howard Hawks movie, all that kind of stuff. And it essentially remains unchanged from the when I wrote it 3 months earlier as a pair of sides for actors to audition for Impulse to what you saw in the 150th. I think maybe I just trimmed it a little bit, really. That was about it. But Jordan and Jessica are so amazing. They're such nice, wonderful people. Love them to death. I told them after we're done, I said, I got to get you back. You know, this must go on somehow. I know I'm the showrunner, but I'm going to talk to you as a fan right now. Don't you dare not come back. You know.
I think we all feel that way. Yeah.
Exactly.
Endorsed.
Jordan had a great time. Jessica, it was like old home week reuniting with everybody. She had a great time.
So then you wake up in the middle of the night, have another idea, and you call everyone at 5 a.m. in the morning and like, guys, I have an idea.
Yes.
I just imagine that's what you're like. Like based on this conversation, I'm like, I think he wakes his writers up, or he sends like the biggest group text message of all time, and everyone goes, "Eric, it's 5 a.m. in the morning."
It came to me in a dream. I must speak on it now.
Now, I try to be good. I try to be a good showrunner. I try not to bug people early in the morning. I don't want to be that guy that sends a mass email at 5 a.m. I'll wait until 10.
There you go.
And I'd rather walk into the room at 10 o'clock, 9:30 and say it there, you know. Have I sent a mass email? I'm not going to answer that because but it wasn't 5 a.m. It's more likely to be 8:38 the night before.
a reasonable time.
A more reasonable time, yes. People to have lives, and the more life you have outside the show, the more you can bring into the show. During the hiatus, I encourage my writers to travel, see the world, enjoy your life, visit your family, especially that's so important during a global pandemic. If you're able to visit family, please do so, reconnect. We're a family show. I pride myself in writing for a family audience. I don't like to get too violent. We talk about that. Like the writers, we have a joke in the room. They'll pitch something, but they know my mantra will always be, is that 8 o'clock? You know, or is that 9 o'clock? You know, and then we have the debate, right? Like, and then what's so funny is they've gotten used to it now, and they've got tricks to outsmart me, and they're like, well, it's actually 8:52 in Act 6, so it's okay. And I go, oh, fine, you're right. Okay, fine. You know, you win. You know.
That's awesome. So obviously we know that the Flash is like a family, which is very evident on screen, and we had to say goodbye to 2 family members this season, which I think that we did not expect, because we are always joking about how much the Flash loves its cast, right? We're like, they're gonna like blackmail them into saying no one's leaving. So what was it like having to say goodbye to them, and then how did you guys decide the perfect exit points for them? Especially because it's great that they have the chance to come back, like we just saw.
Yeah. Well, we'll take them separately. I'll take Carlos first. With Carlos, apparently my voice is changing. I'm growing. With Carlos, we knew, and really with Tom too, we knew in advance what was coming. So we could write towards it. I also knew, even though Tom's, and mind you, 701 it was supposed to be 620, right?
Yeah.
So Nash Wells was going to die in 620. Harrison Wells, aka Timeless Wells, was going to be reborn in 621 and then help us in the season finale. And then you'd see more of Timeless Wells and obviously, Reverse Flash in the next season. Then COVID hits, changes everything. Okay, all right, well, I got to have Reverse Flash for the 150th, which means I got to set all this into motion. Okay, I guess we're doing all this. We got it, and we changed it a little bit. We had the death in the premiere now, 701. I did think that worked really well. A lot of people were mad at me for a week. That was pretty funny because I know the whole time. Just wait a week.
Coming right back.
Guys, be nice to him on Twitter. When be patient.
He's coming right back. I promise. I can't tell you, but I know, And then after he leaves at the end of 3, I'm thinking he's gonna be back in 9. It's like he's coming. They need his help. We've planned it this way on purpose, and then hopefully nobody saw it coming in 18. That's what I'm hoping. You know what I mean?
I was definitely shocked.
I was more shocked about the lightning sabers. So, if Warner Bros. CW is listening, give me that merchandise. Eric. I need a speed throne. I need a speed throne. I don't know what I have to do, but just give me the speed throne. Go on. Sorry.
And I got to tell you, if I lived in Canada after they shot Godspeed and Grant and Karan's scene on his Godspeed throne and all that stuff, I would have literally backed my truck up and said, put that throne in my car. I'm taking it to my garage. Because Jenny, our production designer, and her art department team did such a phenomenal job on it. And it just blew everybody away. Just blew everybody. That's one of my favorite scenes of the season, by the way.
Mm-hmm. It was awesome. I loved it. There was a church on a throne. I was like, he's Godspeed. I get it.
Karan versus Grant. And it's funny. The lightning swords, as we call them in the room, comes from the comic book. I remember I was reading Joshua's great run. I'm so behind, right? But sometimes I just grab a random issue off the stand. And I'm like, okay, let me just buy this. I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to read. I got to catch up. And I remember seeing a Godspeed image of him with his lightning sword in the comic book. And you just put it on the board. Lightning sword fight. Cool. Right? It just sits there, right? And you never know when you get the opportunity to do it. And then when we realized, hey, Reverse Flash is going to help Grant. And I think everybody got there pretty darn fast. We're like, lightning sword, cool, right? And then you've seen the rest. So yeah, I would love a lightning sword toy. I would love that, and a Godspeed throne. I'd love that. I'm trying to think. Well, there's so many good. Our props department and our art department designs so many cool gadgets and things. You know what I mean? Like, I'd like a little Mad 2.0 too. To like kind of focus my empath powers on people, see how people feel. I'd like to do that too, but oh well.
All right, I'm gonna try. Let's wrap up by saying what do you think was your favorite part of this past season?
Ooh, well, it's the last 2 episodes, definitely. Taken as a whole, I think. But I don't know. There's so many moments I really loved individually, character moments. I really loved. I thought Danielle Panabaker did this amazing job in 708 People versus Killer Frost in that scene. I call it her Emmy scene, when it's her and Frost arguing with each other. It's the same actress playing 2 different roles. I thought that was really special. I thought she knocked that one out of the park. And everybody this season had many moments like that. I thought Grant was spectacular as Spock Flash, as we call him in the writer's room.
That was one of my favorite parts of this season for sure.
Me too. I was like, Grant, I did not know you had it in you, but please keep rambling.
He's just fantastic in that one. You know what I mean? And surprisingly, one of my favorite Iris moments is, and it's not one you might expect, because yes, I love when she says, let's have a baby, and
That was so good.
Okay, I remember I'd written that the first time, and I think Thomas did the first pass because it's Thomas's teleplay, and I did a little polish on it, and Grant read it, and we were talking about it, and just in my conversation with Grant, again, something, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said something that made either one of us go, oh, and he should like throw him up the stairs. That'll be hilarious. We'll love that. And then it went right in the script. You know, those kinds of things. I think
the gifs, the memes, Eric, you do not know what you guys unleashed out of me.
It was the best kind of chaos, that episode. That was just, you know.
Really good. Yeah, there's a scene, and we had to trim it down, too, because of time between Iris and Nora, Speed Force Nora, or SFN, if you're a Bart. And they're just in jitters, and they're just having a conversation. And Candace and Michelle are just bringing it. And there's a couple of good scenes just between those. I like scenes with the women that are not necessarily about men or about romance. You're trying to give them as much agency as possible,
right?
Which is the whole purpose of the whole Mirror storyline, by the way. It's like I want Iris to have her own story. She's a real character that needs to be three-dimensionalized. Let's give her a storyline. Same way with Joe. Joe is more than just a cop. All right, let's take him out of cop trappings. Let's get him out on the road. Give him a partner. Let's get him out in the woods doing crazy stuff. Let's see more. That's what we're trying to do. But in this particular case, it gave Candace and Michelle just this really wonderful opportunity to shine. That was a setup. The payoff of that is in 70. Which episode is 708? 708? No. I'm getting my episodes mixed up. It's the one, right? If we're quoting Friends, right? It's the one where Speed Force Nora, they're about to find the Strength Force. They're about to find for where is it?
Oh.
And Speed Force Nora is saying, "Well, you just got to force, your way onto her, Barry." And Iris comes out of the observation room and goes, "Excuse me, what you talking about?" And it's like, oh, it's on. Iris versus Speed Force Nora and Barry. Don't you say a word. You better shut up. You know?
I guess.
Like you better
you're sleeping on the couch.
Let these women, okay. You know, I remember that. I'm like, oh, what a great Candace scene and great moment. And Candace is she's just taking control right here. You know what I mean? I love that. I love that. So those moments happen throughout the whole season. I know we don't have enough time, but I could literally name that for every single character. I mean, Cisco and Chester, all of episode 706.
Love that one.
Just the whole thing. Anytime they were on camera together in the 90s in those wacky clothes, we just couldn't stop laughing, you know? And then we got the emotion of Chester and his dad. Then we couldn't stop crying, you know? But, yeah, the last two were just special for everybody involved, from meeting Bart for the first time to the lightning sword battle, to the return of the Reverse Flash, to the proposal, the re-proposal, and the wedding vow ceremony, which
so good.
You made him sing, by the way. You made him sing. I'm so happy you did that.
We've been trying to get to that vow renewal for 4 seasons. 4 years we've been trying to get to it. But you have to find the organic time where it feels right. And I went, well, 2 part 150th, that is the right time. You know?
And thank God it was that, because there was a time where people thought it was going to be Cecile and Joe getting married, and they were so mad. They're like, if they get married before West Ellen vow renewal, we will die.
No. We wanted to honor that. We wanted to do a real wedding without Nazis, and as much as I love Olicity, which I do, I'm a big Arrow fan, without another couple kind of distracting from what I think is one of the great romantic couples in the history of television. I wish we could show more of it. Sometimes the story gets in the way. I hope, like I said, I just finished writing 801. There's a really funny kind of romantic, kind of charming thing. It's no spoilers. It's right out of the gate, which of course ends in a hilarious thing, which will play out in about 4 months. But those scenes are so much fun to write. Grant and Candace are so wonderful in them. They have such great chemistry together. I just think it's special, and they've got some really cool moments coming up in season 8 too. So just basically the last 2, were just a delight. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of specific things from the last 2. The moment that we already talked about with all 6 speedsters finally together. That was obviously a special moment for us. That's pulling straight from the comics. We Are the Flash, that panel, that's bringing it to life. Bringing in John Wesley Shipp again and giving him speed once more. That's really special for us. Just seeing the parents, one of my favorite scenes of the whole series, not just of this season, is in the 150th, and it's Grant, Candace, Jordan, and Jessica. And it's right after Chester leaves. I think Chester leaves to go do schmiance like you do. And they're like, you can't send us home. What are we going to do? You're going to make us watch TV at Grandpa Joe's or something like that? Yeah. And that's the moment where it's not about the Flash. It's not about speedsters. It's not about science fiction. It's just about parents and kids. Mm-hmm. And seeing the 4 of them together in that scene, I remember when I wrote it, that was when I felt, this is something special. This really is the heart and soul of this show. And so and then there's a joke at the end. We're like, well, what are you going to do? Round us? And yes, actually we will. Which I've heard my parents when I was a kid say many times to me when I was.
Hopefully not. Hopefully your parents didn't mention we got a pipeline we can lock you up in. Because
yes, they did not lock me in a cell. Thank goodness. So yeah, I hope that answers. That question.
Well, thank you so much for your time. If you want, if fans are going to be watching this, is anything you want to tell them? Again, no spoilers, guys. Be patient. I'm sure it's going to be. Once we get to October and November, we will get there. But is there anything you want to say to them who's watching right now? And after this, again, one of the most challenging years of television production because of this darn pandemic.
Yeah, I'll say to everybody watching what I tweeted out. A couple of weeks ago, or whenever you're watching this in time, years in the past, in the future, 2029, it's very fun in the writer's room, trust me.
Yeah, are you hiring? At this point, it's funny.
No, because I've got the world's best staff.
Yeah, you do. You do.
But no, in all seriousness, I can be serious at times, I promise. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being, and we all went through something together, believe it or not. We were making a show and we were making it for you guys, the audience, while we were all collectively going through 2020 and 2021, which was horrible. Mental health issues abounding and all this horrible things. And God forbid, there were those of us who had sicknesses, maybe either ourselves or our loved ones, who knows what the outcome was. Maybe it was even the worse. We all had to find a way to try and cope with all this, and us making the show for you and you watching and coming back in a 7th season. It really means the world to us because we do make the show for ourselves, obviously, but for you guys. And so thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being on this ride with us. And if you saw at the end of season 7 was crazy, woo-hoo! You wait till you see 801. I don't know how we're going to afford it, but hey, we will. The best is yet to come. So thank you, and stay tuned.
Thank you. We hope to chat with you very soon again, hopefully in a few months when you can spill some tea, but not too much.
Yes, let's talk again when we get closer, and I can tell you all the things that I can't tell you now.
Yeah, it's fine. Just compensate us with with speed throws, and we will be good.
There you go. We each get a speed throw.
Does it come in one color or just no? I'm just kidding. Eric, thank you so much.
No, seriously. Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's great to see you guys. I hope you guys are doing okay and are safe. Staying safe and all that good stuff. Continue to stay safe. And all that good. Thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. And we will see y'all in the fall. Take care.
We will. Take
Thanks
care.
so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Eric.
Thank you.